understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
When I eat a brain, I get visions.
Don't ever come back to Gotham.
You have failed this city.
Jesus, what kind of a preacher are you?
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the DCTV report for the week ending Saturday, November 25th, 2017. I'm Edward O'Hare, nickname to be determined.
And I'm Sara Netzley, academic by day, freelance writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And we have 5 new episodes this week.
5, yes. One took off. One was sensible on Thanksgiving.
The other one made us shuffle away from the dinner table, lay moaning on the couch, and reach for the remote. I may have just overshared.
Yeah. Thank God no one else in my house was watching football.
Yeah, we actually said, hey, you want to turn on the game? And then we all had a hearty laugh because that is not how my household rolls.
No. You enjoy your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, very much. Got to see the in-state family, so that's always good. My nieces get taller every time. We actually played a board game like sensible adults. That's exciting as they get older. So yeah, it was a very, very good time. How about you?
Yeah, it was fun. Met up with family. Watched my uncle scream at the football game.
Awesome.
Which is nice. They're Giants fans. So New York Giants fans. So please, say a prayer for them. They're 2-9. I think they'll pull through fine.
Your uncles or the Giants?
Oh, my uncles. But yeah, that's a story for another podcast. So yeah, and also for everyone out there who wants to get in contact with us, we do have an email address you can contact us at. It's dctv@wickedtheory.com.
Yeah, so you can send us thoughts on the shows. You can send us questions. You can try to rile up debate or start a riot or whatever you want to do with your email. It's your dime there. So
yeah. And someone did tweet at us at DCTV Report this week for a comment that we will talk about later in the show. Also, for all you DC movie fans out there, Sara and I did record a special Justice League review. Spoiler special that is live on our feed right now, so please be sure to download that.
And we do have a non-spoiler section if you haven't seen it but just want to know in general what we thought, and then we move into spoilers, although by now you've probably seen it if you're going to see it. I will say my brother, bless his heart, at Thanksgiving dinner said, hey, I'd ask you what you thought about Justice League, but I know you have the podcast out and I don't want to insult you, so I'll just listen to that. I was like, no, it's okay. We can talk about it like people at dinner. No, you've got the podcast. It's cool. So thank you, Chris, for your dedication and being like, nope, shut it down. Don't say words to me. I will listen to your recorded voice.
Oh man. Yeah, I always like wish someone would come up and ask me to talk about comics or movies and stuff.
You would love my family. If we ever get you to the Midwest, I'm going to put you and my brother down in a room. Like 2 comic geeks enter, 1 comic geek leaves. It's going to be amazing. So you let me know the next time you're traveling. Yeah,
it's the best. Yeah. When you trap someone in a room with me and I try to explain to them the differences between all the different Robins, oh man, it's slaughter.
My Robin is Carrie, Dark Knight Returns Robin, the end.
Okay.
But I mean, you can explain. That's fine. I'm open to debate.
Oh yeah, no. I've always been a Tim Drake guy, but that's because he was Robin when I was a kid. So that's that's always bolt.
The saying in my household is the golden age of comics is the comics that you read when you were between the ages of 12 and 18. That's the golden age of comics for you. So makes sense.
Pretty much. All right, you ready to get into these shows?
Oh, we want to talk about shows on the DCTV report. Fine.
That's right. All right. So jumping right in. First up, we had Lucifer.
All right. Season 3, episode 8, Chloe Does Lucifer. Lucifer becomes afraid he was becoming boring as he and Chloe investigated the murder of a computer programmer who had a beef with a high-class dating app. Charlotte tried shadowing Ella to learn from her how to be a good person. Amenadiel tried to comfort Dr. Linda as she prepared Reese's funeral. Last-minute reveal, Lucy stole the shoe from Trixie and Chloe's Monopoly game and eyed it fondly before running off for a wild night with a woman in fancy lingerie and a top hat.
Aww. Those are family values.
Family. Let me tell you, proof that Lucifer actually is the devil. He was playing Monopoly, aka the worst game. Friends don't let friends play Monopoly. Devils don't let friends play Monopoly. Just don't play Monopoly. Ugh.
No. I see. I'm the flip the board type. I'll admit that right now.
I'm the snooty Euro board game type that takes 3 hours to set up and then 8 hours to actually play. So Monopoly takes 8 hours to play, but you're just going in circles. So
yeah. This episode we had a very convoluted story.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes with Lucifer, and I always enjoy Lucifer, but sometimes I kind of feel like, wait, how did they get from point A to point B? And what was the motivation exactly for things feel glossed over sometimes, but I enjoy the characters so much that I don't really care. I'm not watching for the procedural. Yeah. I'm watching for Tom Ellis and company. But yeah, this one felt a little, oh, that's why he did it? And we just resolved that in 30 seconds? Okay.
Yeah, it works for me.
It's fine.
But I mean, we did I did find it interesting how the murder case actually did make sense with what they were trying to do with Lucifer that week.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little too on the nose and sometimes it's a little too abstract, but this one, I mean, it was the baby bear, right? It was just right.
Yeah.
It really was. So if I can go deep a little bit, I mean, Lucifer feels like he has to be the top hat, but he finds himself being increasingly drawn to this shoe lifestyle with Chloe, right? But could he really be happy in the long term? I mean, is he really cut out for that? He feels like he has to, for the masses, give this performance as hedonistic Lucifer Morningstar. So, would he be content long term? And then to flip it around, when Chloe does Lucifer and dresses and behaves like Lucifer, she is putting on the top hat persona. And the first thing she does is take off that bullet necklace that he gave her because it doesn't fit with what her top hat persona does. So if she's trying to be a top hat like Lucifer, maybe Lucifer doesn't fit that lifestyle for her quite so much. I just thought that was really kind of an interesting statement.
Yeah, I gotta say, to me, I don't think this episode lived up to its title.
Oh, God, no.
I thought that moment, actually, I thought when Chloe was running around his apartment during the Vegas during the Vegas episode doing his accent,
that feels more like Lucifer.
That was actually like much more Chloe does Lucifer.
That's a really good point. I mean, it was never, ever, ever going to be Chloe and Lucifer have sex. I mean, that was the tease, but that was never going to happen, right? But you're right. The turning her into him, it was a small thing. It didn't carry through. It wasn't quite as, it felt a little forced. It's like they had the title and they worked backwards from the title.
Yeah, I feel like, they got the look down and then she just completely abandoned trying to have any kind of personality like that. That scene didn't work.
And it was too short a scene. It would have been kind of fun to have her undercover like that a little bit more and maybe being forced to react to things like Lucifer a little bit more. And I don't know. She looked great though. Whew.
Yeah.
We all agree that those amazing gold high heels she was wearing in that last scene were totally from Maze's closet though, right? She doesn't own those. She borrowed those. Yeah.
Definitely. I feel like Trixie pulled those from Maze's closet and asked her
Mom,
to wear them.
No, you can't wear those boots. Put these on. And Maze will come home and be like, who scuffed these? Who did this?
I miss Maze.
I know.
Yeah. A couple months. We'll see her soon. January.
We can wait. We can be patient.
Yeah. What else we had? We had Charlotte, the Charlotte Ella storyline. This is starting to wane on me a little bit. Not gonna lie. I think it's funny to see her just avoiding Charlotte.
Yes.
But I feel like at a certain point it was like, okay, you're going to help her or you're not.
Mm-hmm. And it better be just this one episode of that, of her hiding. Obviously, Charlotte's going to be around a lot more. And it is kind of an obvious way to get her to be involved is for her to seek redemption in the DA's office and therefore get her involved in the cases. I do like the element she brings, which is, oh yeah, I've defended these kinds of people before. Here's what we need to do. Here's probably what happened. So I think she'll bring an interesting element to the order side of things and the law and order setup that they have here.
Yeah.
Which,
by the way, did I call that a couple weeks ago?
Yes, I believe so. We talked about this, I think. Yeah. We'll give you credit. +5 to Ed. But boy, I bet it's hard to walk away from that salary. Ooh. Yeah. She's probably got huge child support payments because she's separated. Yeah, it's gotta be rough. She's got that apartment. Hope she paid cash for it. She doesn't have to keep up the mortgage because it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, and also we had Amenadiel and Dr. Linda.
I loved all of this. I loved everything about this. How about you?
Yes, yeah. At first I thought, this is actually the first time I thought, why aren't they kissing? And then I realized, oh, she's planning her ex-husband's funeral. That's probably not
the right time.
That's probably not kosher.
It wasn't just me who felt that then. I'm glad to hear that. I find it kind of, angels in relationships with humans doesn't always feel like the most natural, comfortable fit. And so ordinarily I'm not somebody who says, yes, supernatural, immortal, all-powerful being, you should be with this, pathetic human. But that chemistry on the beach, and he just looked at her with such tenderness and concern and kindness, and I felt myself yelling like, you need to smash faces now, please. But I liked the Dr. Linda's kind of looser beach look, and when she unravels, it's always kind of interesting to see. And I thought that whole scene was really well acted, that she's lost the what if. Now that she knows the truth about the universe, she knows where she's going, and it doesn't sound like she expects to go anyplace good. And it's taken away all of the questions she had. And she acted that really well. And I felt for her. I felt bad for her. She really has been through a lot between the charbroiling and then Reese's death and, all of that. And she ended up laying on the beach next to Amenadiel, which is not the worst place in the world to be.
No.
And she's right. Chameleons are cool.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny. I don't feel like you see many lizards on TV anymore.
Anymore. It's just like since V went off the air.
Yeah. I'm even thinking of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
True.
So cool.
Oh, I will say, if you follow Rachel Harris's, she plays Dr. Linda, her Twitter feed, she gives kind of cool, the whole cast is pretty good about this, but she gives pretty cool behind the scenes stuff sometimes. And Lucifer saying Oscar Wilde, well, he was straight when I met him, total ad lib by Tom Ellis. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, that's funny. That is perfect. Actually, like, see, it's funny. If Neil Gaiman was writing this, we would, because I haven't read much of I haven't read any of Neil Gaiman's Lucifer, but Neil Gaiman's Sandman, this is the point where they would be offhanded comment. And next episode, we would do a flashback, to the turn of the century and Lucifer running into Oscar Wilde. And I would like that to happen. Yeah.
That would be pleased.
Yeah. This isn't really the show's style, but if they ever were to do a flashback, that's a story I think would be interesting.
If they want to take this the Highlander route and show us Lucifer through the years, great.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Speaking of Tom Ellis, Redbeard, Deke273, or as we know him, Redbeard, our buddy Dan from the Deconstructing Dad podcast, sent us out a challenge on Twitter.
And we rose to that challenge.
Yes, we are.
For We Are the DCTV Report.
He wants to know if Tom Ellis chewing the scenery in every episode of Lucifer is that the only reason you watch, or the main reason you watch? Something to discuss on the next at DCTV Report. I don't think it's the only reason we watch, but I think it's the best reason to watch.
No, that's a good answer. Really, the show lives or dies on Tom Ellis's performance. If they had a crappy Lucifer, this show would never have made it to a second season. It wouldn't have made it through the first season. So, and if he didn't play Lucifer with such camp and such cheekiness, I feel like I can say cheekiness because he's British. It would fall flat. So for me, you substitute pretty much any other actor or any other personality type in for Lucifer, and I'm not sure I'm watching this show. So guilty. Yeah. Yes. Only I wouldn't call it chewing scenery. I would call it like licking and nibbling on the scenery and then caressing it delicately while the scenery is just like, oh, stop it. Stop.
Yeah.
That's what he does to the scenery. Oh, you're so bad. Just stop. Okay, keep going.
Well, I mean, the one thing is, this is a trend that you have seen on Fox for the last decade, where they will take some type of genre element and try to turn it into a cop show. I remember someone actually taking, Almost Human was about an android robot who befriends a police officer and helps him solve crimes.
Well, I'm still mad that show was canceled, FYI.
Yes. Yeah. Again, a show that was canceled. Sleepy Hollow was about Ichabod Crane coming forward into the present, befriending a police officer and helping them solve crimes.
I'm less mad that show was canceled.
Okay. What else? What else do we have? Minority Report was about a guy who escapes a government facility who can see into the future, befriending a police officer and helping them solve crimes.
I'm starting to see a trend.
You had Second Chance, which was about an old man who was brought back to life and put into a superhuman body, who befriends a police officer and helps them solve crimes.
The police officer was his son.
Yes,
Let's not forget.
yes.
I am really upset about that cancellation, by the way.
Yeah, I like that show too. And Lucifer is about the devil coming to Earth, befriending a police officer and helping them solve crimes. Now, of those 4 or 5 shows I've just mentioned, Lucifer is the only one that's still on the air.
This is true. Although Sleepy Hollow did have 3 seasons?
It had 3.5, something like that.
It had one good season, and then it had some other seasons.
Yeah. But so this is a trend that Fox has been trying to crack for a while. And what I can say is the most, the one difference between this show and all of those other ones is that the genre element is played by an actor who is really eccentric and pops off the screen.
Yeah.
And, and as much as I love the leads in all of those other shows, they're not Tom Ellis. Even Carl Urban, even Dr. McCoy did not, because he's playing a robot, did not pop off the screen, was not as interesting a character, I think.
Actually, Carl Urban wasn't. He was the police officer. He was not the
I'm sorry,
robot.
you're right.
It's okay.
Right. I apologize. It's been a while. But I think it makes a difference. And you know what? If I'm enjoying that show, does why I'm watching it really matter?
That's true.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're doing a disservice to the supporting characters who I think D.B. Woodside is fantastic as a Menadil. He's this serious, earnest presence. I could rave about Rachel Harris, Dr. Linda, every week because she's this tart brightness to the show, and she's sensible, but she's feeling. And of course, Maze is amazing. Leslie Brandt. I'm not saying much about Chloe because I think she is the big glaring black hole in the show. I wish she and Tom Ellis had more chemistry, but despite even that, I enjoy the show very much. So am I being too hard on?
No, well, I mean, kind of. The supporting cast in this is great, and all of those little grounded moments are what allow Tom Ellis to be so big.
Yes.
I think the only person who's crazier than him on the show is Maze. And even she is best in small doses, or one episode alone to herself, every 6.
And that's how they tend to use her. Yeah. They use her well, and they use her in small doses. Mm-hmm. I would like more doses of her, though, once she's back on the show. I would like to make up some lost time with her if possible.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Does that adequately answer the question, do you think?
I think it does.
Yes. It's totally the scenery chewing. That's fair. Guilty.
Cool. Was there any news on Lucifer?
Not that I saw. Pretty slow news week this week. I attribute it to the Thanksgiving holiday that was around the corner and nobody really wanting to interview or be interviewed in preparation for turkey.
All right. Awesome.
Or whatever people in Hollywood eat for Thanksgiving.
So moving on to Supergirl, we had season 3, episode 7. Wake up! The team discovered Mon-El in a spaceship at the bottom of the ocean, and Kara became disappointed that he was distant and unwilling to explain where he has been the last 7 months. Hint, hint, he's not single anymore. Ja'an reluctantly helped Myrn adjust to life on Earth, and Samantha learned from her ignorant twit of an adopted mom that she was found in a spaceship. Last minute reveal, Samantha drove to the middle of the desert, used a Kryptonian crystal to create her own fortress of sanctuary, and learned from a hologram that she was sent to Earth to reign as a world killer.
Yes, she did. Question for you, Ed.
Yeah.
Are 90% of the barns in the DC universe used for storing alien spacecraft?
About more like 70%.
Okay. All right. I overestimated and I apologize. Yeah. How did Samantha never go out to the barn when growing up to be like, hey, what's this? What's this huge thing under a tarp that's shaped like a spaceship? That's weird.
Yeah. To me, that's the kind of thing like you bury underground or like,
Yeah.
Well, who has a barn in their backyard? Like there wasn't any semblance that she was using that farm, But also, you're right. As a kid, if you have a barn on your property, you're going to go hang out there all the time.
Yeah, you're going to hang out in the barn. She could have sold the farming rights to her land. She could rent it out or something to neighboring farmers when she retired, or like if her husband died or something, and she could just be. We don't have to retcon the barn.
Yeah,
but yeah, she was awful. That was an awful woman. You got pregnant. I kicked you out. Also, you're an alien. I never told you. Go to hell. I mean,
yeah, I was a little like, whoa.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to talk about Rain a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't learn much. I think we're gonna see. I mean, we're really gonna see her be Rain, next episode, or maybe in a couple weeks, after the big crossover.
After the crossover, I was a little disappointed. I would like to have seen her get infected, not infected, but get infected with this Rain virus or activation or whatever, and then struggle with it over the course of another episode or two, try to keep that evil that world killer tendency in check, and finally fail. And it just happened so quickly. It would have been kind of fun to watch her fight against it and ultimately lose. I think that would have been compelling and might have made us feel even more for her. I've heard some complaints that this new character has been shoved front and center in the show, and why are we spending so much time on her? Would have been kind of nice, I think, to watch her then struggle with speaking harshly to Ruby and realizing, oh no, I can't do that, but then ultimately Rain wins. But whatever, they did what they did, and it's fine. And Odette Annabelle is going to be she's going to be an amazing villain. So, and we agree it's going to be Ruby who pulls her back, right? Ruby's going to be the Achilles heel.
Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Either that or Rain kills Ruby and Samantha can't forgive herself and decides to destroy Rain by killing herself.
That would be dark.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Is Supergirl that dark a show?
Well, this season, maybe. I don't know. I mean, because this whole episode was... I felt like this whole episode was Mon, who'd been asleep for 12,000 years. Mon-El, who'd been asleep for 12,000 years, deciding to take a nap and get his head together. And Kara just sitting there looking at him through a glass window going, I don't know.
See, and yeah, he's been asleep for 12,000 years. He hasn't been aware for 12,000 years. He's been gone for 7, right? She thinks it's 7 months. It was actually 7 years. And then somehow we went back in time and they got buried in rock for 12,000 years. I mean, it happens. The guy doesn't call for a week. And it turns out he was on a spaceship, got buried in rock for 12,000 years. That's why I didn't text you back. It's fine, whatever. But he was among friends. And yeah, it's been 7 years for him. He might not know how things have progressed. Why didn't he? They had better have a really good reason in future episodes for him to be so secretive. And I know he just woke up and I know he was discombobulated, but the sneaking around and sneaking into the armory and being like, when? You've got to come help me. It's going to save Kara. Well, from what? Tell her what's going on. Tell her. No secrets. These are your friends. So there had better be a really good reason that he was really secretive, sneak around behind everybody's back. Because otherwise, Mon-El would be like, hey, it's the DEO. Sweet. I remember these guys. Guys, I need your help. I've got the spaceship full of people. One of them is my wife. We need to go help. But no, just nothing.
Well,
Mon-El.
Okay.
You're better than that.
I'll play devil's advocate a little bit here. So he gets stranded on Earth and they force him to live inside the DEO for months. And really the only reason he's let out is because he gets a girlfriend. And
it's not a bad point.
And he has a bunch of people from the future, most of which are, at least one of which we're going to find out is an alien that does not look human at all. Who later we are going to see is named Brainiac. And that does have some connection to Superman. I don't know exactly how the DEO is going to react to that. And maybe he just thought the best thing was to get back to the ship and just get them home. And yeah, Kara's going to hate him and be confused, but I think he's, and it's also the kind of thing where they're from the future and they may not be ready to see this kind of technology or whatever's going on.
Oh, that's true. It just seems like he had built up enough cred with the DEO by the time he left, and he knows Kara and he knows the DEO. And if he would say, yeah, there are some aliens on here, we're from the future, I need to get them back home, or I need to deactivate whatever MacGuffin is in danger of MacGuffining, that they would help because they're helpers. They're people who don't shun aliens and they don't run away from, being good and kind and righteous, So I always come from the tell everybody everything. It feels like all the secrets that were cleared up on Arrow over the last couple of weeks just landed on Supergirl, and Mon-El said nothing to anybody, and it just made Kara cry and cry and cry. It was a waterlogged episode. Ugh.
Yeah. Although it's weird that like she wasn't. It didn't seem even like she was happy to see him. It was like
I read that as shock.
Yeah.
That almost like couldn't believe it, that he's back.
Yeah.
And he's got a beard. It's not a good beard.
No, you don't like the beard?
No. I did not care for the beard, although I did have a friend on Twitter, Michelle, who was just like, oh no, leave the beard alone. All right. Everybody has their own feelings on Chris Wood's face. So. I will say, I'm interested to see what 7 years has done to him. I'm curious about the character development and what his new position entails for how he views the world and what has become of him. And so I'm excited to see the continued evolution of Mon-El. I just hope it's not at the expense of all the other story. There's just a lot of this, kind of like Gotham. I feel like they're juggling a lot of storylines on Supergirl right now. And so I hate to take away time from all the other ones that are in the air to cover him too. But as long as we get some good John time with his dad, I'm happy.
Yeah. And I think this is the kind of thing, like I'm surprised this took us 3 episodes to get to here.
Yeah.
He's going to teach you what coffee is. He doesn't need permission to the bathroom.
Well, how did he read coffee or whatever it was that he said? Perfect.
Oh, black water?
Black water. Brown water. It was brown water.
Carl Lumley doing a great job.
So good. He really does have just the right amount of paternal disapproval and disappointment. He channels that really well.
Now, do we ever see that apartment again? Like, do you think we ever go back there?
No, not even once.
No?
I don't. I think it's a once and done thing. Well, I don't know. They did make a point of John being too involved in the DEO, so maybe we will see. I could see him maybe joining his dad for chess in the park while his dad's just wiping the floor with all the other old dudes. That could be fun.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, chess. Just learn chess. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you're an old timer. Sit down, learn chess. Put on one of those plaid caps. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, we're gonna have some odd couple moments because neither of those guys know how to cook.
Oh, now I want I want a bottle episode of those two in the apartment. I don't care what happens, how they write it. Give it to us.
Yeah. No. It's going to unleash some type of green Martian virus that can't escape the apartment, and no, there's gonna be something there.
I'll tune in for all 45 minutes of that. That'll be fun.
And so, do we cover the episode? Is there anything else?
I think so.
Okay. Any big Supergirl specific news? This coming up week is the big crossover. And so we'll talk about that a little bit at the end when we're done with everything. But Supergirl specific, comicbook.com had an interview with David Harewood, who plays John. And he said that, there has been a little bit more Martian culture and history and religion creeping into the show this season. And they've really kind of tried to make an effort to do that and present that aspect of Mars. So if you've noticed that, kudos, that's been quite intentional. And in fact, he said he is particularly partial to the Ostrander and Mandrake run from the 90s of Martian Manhunter. Not that necessarily means we're going to see that on screen. It's just kind of nice when the actor knows the history, I think, of the character a little bit. So that was cool. Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's funny because, Martian Manhunter is a character who's been around 50, 60 years. But for most of his time, he was, a secondary character in Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much solo Martian Manhunter material out there, and that Ostrander run is probably the best representation of it. So it's nice to see that he knows his stuff. Cool. That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's what we got on Supergirl this week.
All right, moving on to Flash.
All right, season 4, episode 7. Therefore, I am. 4 years ago, Clifford and Marlies DeVoe tried taking advantage of Harrison Wells' particle accelerator to power an experiment to expand human intellect. In the present, all indications ruled out DeVoe as the thinker, but Barry was not convinced and took his obsession way too far. Iris got stressed planning the wedding. Last minute reveal, Marlies slipped DeVoe back into his apparatus and they decided to let Barry enjoy his wedding before making their next move.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun.
All right. I think we need to get this out of the way. Barry was incredibly stupid in this episode.
Oh my gosh. So everybody was stupid. Number one, hasn't Barry earned enough cred with the team that they're willing to listen to his gut? If Barry's saying, it's this dude, I'm telling you, it's this dude, surely somebody on that team is going to take him seriously, right? And not force him to break and enter like some kind of member of the Scooby-Doo gang. I mean, just like Barry.
Yeah, that was so, because like it's one thing to get obsessive, but this seemed really out of character for him. This seemed like they wanted to make him go too far, and it didn't really work for me.
If they had built it up with a little bit more of DeVoe personally targeting Barry in ways that the rest of the team didn't see, or if they had, and I understand that, DeVoe, that name, we've heard that name over and over, so I guess maybe that's where Barry's obsession to capture him comes from, but you're right, it didn't feel quite earned. Mm-hmm. If it had been a little bit more, Jaws 3, this time it's personal.
Yeah.
With Barry to track him down, I guess I could understand why he'd go to his college class. By the way, DeVoe is a terrible college professor. Those are terrible lectures. Awful. That's all. Okay.
Yeah, well, he's a research guy.
Yeah, that's right. Barry's his TA. He should be at a college where there's a TA because that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was hard watching Barry act like an idiot. It was hard watching his team be like, "Oh, Barry, it's time for your juice. Sit down, take a nap." Like, listen to Barry. And Barry, don't do the things you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Captain Singh should have been a lot more upset.
Yes. Yes.
Like, straight from the beginning, like, one, you're a CSI. What the hell are you doing talking to suspects? And
yes.
And 2, what crime is this? This is a police department where you're running 40 murders at a time, and you can't tell me what case this is? Excuse me? That does not seem realistic at all. That's like a get out of my office. But I thought the flashback. See, it's funny thinking about this episode. The Flash didn't really have, much to do with Barry was doing a lot, but there wasn't much of the Flash at all. There was no big showdown at the end. But I feel like this episode does set the stage for the rest of the season. I think the flashbacks here were really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed going back to that original explosion. I thought that was a lot of fun to kind of see it from the outside, literally from the outside, from the street in front of the building, right? So I really did enjoy that. I thought the parallels between the DeVoe husband and wife team and the Barry and Iris team was so interesting. She kept saying to her husband DeVoe, yes, when she probably should have been like, nope, let's put the brakes on this evil plan. Where Iris just keeps telling Barry, no, when maybe she should have been like, okay, I will listen to what you're saying about DeVoe. I just thought it was kind of interesting that, Dr. Mrs. DeVoe was just like, yeah, I'll help you do that. Where Iris was just like, no, Barry, sit down, wedding. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. It's funny. I I had to mention something about the wedding because it did play a big part. Really, the only thing I can get was, Iris was stressed.
Can I take a second? Cosmopolitan wrote an article this week, Cosmopolitan magazine, about the trouble with women in the Flash, and specifically with Iris. And there's this passage that exactly encapsulates my frustration with Iris. Okay, so this is Cosmopolitan. In 4 seasons, Iris has transitioned from waitress to grad student, from city blogger to journalist, and finally to leader of Team Flash, with little to no explanation of how her ambitions have evolved over time, or how she might even have acquired the skills she now uses. Her aspirations always appear to be determined by plot mechanics rather than naturally following the arc of her character. As far as we can tell, Iris is currently unemployed and planning a wedding on Barry's public servant salary. What was she doing during the 6 months when Barry was presumed dead? How did she cope? How did she support herself? Does she even exist outside of her relationship to Barry? Yes, this is my problem with Iris. She's suddenly saying to Barry, we are the Flash. No. And just her development, and why is she doing this, and how is she supporting herself? Iris baffles me. She's never been my favorite. And this season, I'm just like, I don't understand who this character is and what she's doing ever. Ugh. Iris.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
I was hoping you'd have some better defense for Iris for me.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was always kind of a Linda Park fan myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
That relationship lasted 2 episodes.
I didn't even mind Patty. I mean, she wasn't great, but
right, Patty. Yeah.
I mean, she was a cop. She had ambition. She wanted to be part of the X-Files, whatever it is on the Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they were going together in the comics, she was also a CSI, so like they worked together even more. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think it's just kind of like, Iris is Barry's classic girlfriend, so that's kind of like, and it's funny, like the dynamic, like I can't imagine the show without Joe West, but and you can't have Joe without Iris, so it's weird.
I guess I'll take Iris if it gives us Joe.
Yeah,
I loved which number Earth Iris did we see last season?
Earth 2, where she's the cop.
Oh, I loved her. She was great. Yeah. Well, and I think because she had a career and she had specific goals and she kind of was her own creature, and maybe that's what it was. She had a story outside of Barry, and that's what I liked about her. So anyway, I didn't mean to spend so much time on Iris. I just find her frustrating this season.
But yeah, I mean, we got to learn where the thinker came from.
Were you pleased to see the thinking cap?
Yeah, that was fun. That was cool, and I liked how it made sense in the story. The way they utilized it. And I think I like that we're learning this in the middle of the season rather than like 3/4 of the way through. Because I feel like later it's like, okay, we know who the villain is, in past seasons, we know who the villain is by the mid-season finale,
Mhm.
but we don't know their secret identity usually until like 4 or 5 episodes before the finale. So I like that the game's set, and the trick is just trying to figure out what his plan is and whether or not you can outthink him.
Well, and I really do like this brain over brawn approach that they're going to have, that DeVoe says, I'm just so much smarter than you, Barry. This is, your secret identity is underwhelming. I'm going to best you. I like his swagger. And I like that it's a different kind of villain, which is what they've been teasing us all along. So I'm pleased that is paying off.
Yeah. One tiny little nitpick. I loved the fact that when he finally does show up in his classroom for the 4th time, just tell me the truth, and then he finally just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna monologue, and he finally cuts loose. And like he just goes back to his friends and says, yeah, DeVoe just admitted to me that it's him, and they're just kind of like, oh, okay, Shaq. I just wish he'd had a tape recorder. Just had
just could have just hit something on your iPhone so you could record that. Just
yeah. At least give, because it's also kind of weird for the whole team to not be believing him, and then all of a sudden just go off his word that he was telling the truth the whole time. It's weird. I keep focusing on the negative, but there was a lot to like in this episode. And I thought those flashbacks were really well handled. I did like seeing the original Earth One Harrison Wells, or it turned out to be Reverse Flash, and
that was I enjoyed that too. Oh yeah, hey, I remember that guy.
Yeah, and I like the way they figured it out is that they knew it was Reverse Flash, or they knew that Wells intentionally wanted the accelerator to explode. Like they figured that out, that it was part of his plan. They didn't know why.
I love the combined husband and wife smarts there. That's been a lot of fun to watch the two of them work together to build him up into the Thinker. And I liked Cisco naming him the Thinker. I always like Cisco naming things. Oh, most importantly, Wally's back, and his hair is so much better.
Yeah. I think that works. Yeah.
Also, is Barry allowed to say his spidey senses are tingling? Like, is that legal in the DC universe?
It's funny. The way I always treated it was like, the superheroes from one universe are comic book characters in the other one.
Okay.
So that can work. It's kind of weird that whenever that happens, but I'll let it slide.
All right.
The fact that they didn't say Council of Reeds last week, although they didn't say Council of Ricks either.
Yeah.
We can let the Spidey sense thing go.
All right, that's fine.
Cool.
Let's see. News-wise, nothing. Again, we've got a lot of crossover stuff coming up, so that's really been what all the media's been focusing on.
Mm-hmm. All right, then on to DC's Legends of Tomorrow, and this was let me just read it. Season 3, Episode 7. Welcome to the Jungle. While Sara was in a coma, the Legends kicked off to 1967 Vietnam and found Gorilla Grodd had taken over a village and was manipulating both sides of the war. While posing as soldiers, Nate and Mick ran into Mick's dad. Martin tried hiding from Jax that he is not sure how to separate Firestorm and called in Isaac Newton, Galileo, and Marie Curie for help. Last minute reveal, Gorilla Grodd crashed into the present day, and Damien Dark greeted him with a totem.
So when Gorilla Grodd shows up, are you happy?
Yeah, I like Gorilla Grodd. I think he's an interesting character. I think there are certain limitations that are noticeable, but but I think they handled those limitations better in this episode than the Flash has.
Uh-huh.
And I love the craziness of just that concept of this enormous gorilla who has a super brain and telepathic powers. To me that's pure comic book craziness.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and what I was trying to say before, as low key as the episode of The Flash was, Legends just kicked it up and was, you had all these fights in Vietnam and all this action going on. I thought that, the energy really kicked up in this episode comparatively.
Vietnam was such an interesting choice. I feel like we don't, when you do time travel, it's always Victorian era and corsets and, things like that. And this was just really cool to see the thick of the fighting in Vietnam. And it's just not as typical a venue. So I really enjoyed that. I also thought Ray looked the most natural there. There was something about his floppy hair that I was just like, yep, Ray looks like a grunt. That works.
Yeah. He had like the hipster, photographer kind of like, yeah, that worked. Also, I love that the actor who played Dick Rory, had to really garble his voice to sound like David Sobel, what's his name? Like Dominic Purcell, Evan Jones. I know him from stuff.
I checked his IMDb and I can't remember. I feel like he was one of those he guest starred on a million things that we've all seen. So he's just one of those guys. I enjoyed his impression of Mick, although I guess that would be Mick doing an impression of him technically, since that's his dad. So, but anytime you meet your father or mother and you have an estranged relationship with that person, or, you killed that person in the future, I'm there. That's why I watch time travel stuff. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I also like Mick signing on with his dad's, perfidy. Yeah. So mix with them now. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah. How weird do you think it was for Nate to be like, oh, this guy just has daddy issues, he's going to work him out. And then all of a sudden Mick says, yeah, I killed him.
It's, Nate's just like, I'm not touching that. Nope. We're done.
Yeah. Now, do you think that this creates an aberration?
I wondered about that. If that changes the way his dad would relate to his sons, I don't know. I would love to see them revisit that, and for Mick to go back to 2017 and find, oh my God, my dad's still here, because apparently he wasn't a horrible human being when I was growing up. I don't know. That sounds like a lot of man pain to throw at him, and that would be a fun character to see that happen to. So if that did take place down the line, ooh, yes, I would enjoy that. I don't actually think it will. How about you?
Yeah, no. I mean, see, it's weird because like that's the kind of change to a character, unless you just wanted to eliminate the whole cast of the show. To me, like that would be an interesting out for Dominic Purcell.
Yeah, that's true. That it changed his whole life. Yeah, and they really could implement that at any time, I would guess, because it's time travel. So but for him to all of a sudden be a good guy, and so he's not. Yeah, I'd support that. I did like, if I can be a history dork for a second, the way they kind of played up that the team posed as reporters for the Associated Press, and they showed a lot of footage of Vietnam as Grodd's like, look what you humans are doing, because there was the coverage, the news coverage of Vietnam was one of the last time you had reporters with really unrestricted, unfettered access. And because of that, people saw really what was happening, and public sentiment turned against the war for a lot of reasons, but that was a big one. And ever since then, we've had really tight control over military action, and reporters aren't allowed to just wander around, and they have to be embedded or get permission. And so I like that they played up that we're reporters, we're here reporting, because that would have given them just a lot of access, because we just had a very different relationship with media and the military during Vietnam that all changed, I think, in part because of the way Vietnam was covered, and because what the public was seeing on TV led to lack of support. So that was a cool thread that they picked up from history and had them kind of highlight that in the episode. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and it's interesting here where like it seems like Grodd has good intentions. You know, it just he has a horrible way of executing it. You know, he's going to bring these people together by just, you know, bringing them all under his one rule. And I don't really know if his plan is sound. But I don't care. It was Gorilla Grodd. We got to see Gorilla Grodd for an episode.
Also, which was your favorite? One Nation Under Grodd, There Is No Sara, Only Grodd, or Kneel Before Grodd? I mean, they were all really good.
Although There Is No Sara, Only Grodd did have tones of Ghostbusters to it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That was really cool. And you know what's funny? Like for some reason, I forgot which show this was. Because like Dr. Stein's just talking with her, and just reminded me of the way he was just talking with the other scientists that he had. For some reason, I thought that those were holographic projections of Newton and Galileo and Marie Curie. Because there were episodes of Star Trek Voyager where just like Leonardo da Vinci was just hanging out.
Yeah, sure, as you do.
And Data would talk with Mark Twain or Einstein all the time on Next Generation, and that I didn't realize that what Dr. Stein had actually done was pick up the real scientists and bring them back to help him figure out this problem,
and then flashy thingy them so they forget everything and deposit them back on Earth. I mean, if you could, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I didn't pick up on that until like the very end of the episode when Newton just wanders in.
That was funny.
Yeah. Although I mean, I like where his head's at.
I assume Sara had to be in a coma because they needed Katie Lotz to film the crossover, is my guess. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why she was mostly out of commission, because she was needed on a different set.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all doing the crossover.
That's a good point, because we all end up on the Wave Rider, and some of the promo shots I've seen has most of the cast. But I wonder if she has more of a role in the other episodes of the crossover.
Maybe. Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see next week. Mm-hmm. Next week.
Yeah. And I felt a little disappointed that no one was really able to step up.
Yeah, I really missed her. I missed her leadership. I'm just glad that they reinforced how important Captain Lance is.
Yes. Yeah. Cool.
Also, do we believe for a second that LBJ would say hotter than a preacher's knee? LBJ would have had like 8 curse words.
Oh yeah,
in that.
that was a horrible choice for Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't. He never visited Vietnam. That's all just made up, right?
I assume.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's.
My mom had tea with Lady Bird Johnson once.
Really? Did she try her pecan pie?
I will have to ask her what the menu was. Lady Bird knew her neighbor when we lived in Virginia, and because there was so much Secret Service stuff that had to happen to clear a visit to her neighbor's home, that to make up for the hassle of it, the neighbor invited my mom to join Lady Bird Johnson for tea. I think this was before I was born. So I'll have to see if she remembers the menu. But anyway, my mom and Lady Bird, basically BFFs, basically.
All right. That's cool. I'll take it.
Anyway, there's no news for Legends of Tomorrow this week because, as with everything else, crossover, jazz hands. That's what we got.
All right. So now our final episode of the week.
All right. That would be Arrow, Season 6, Episode 7, Thanksgiving. The Star City Thanksgiving food drive was ruined when Agent Watson arrested Oliver for being the Green Arrow. Caden James and Black Siren stole materials for a really nasty super bomb. Curtis gave Diggle a prototype injection for his nerve condition, and things did not go well. Last minute reveal, Thea woke up from her coma and the new Queen family shared Thanksgiving dinner with her. Aww. Thea's back. I literally care about nothing else. We have Thea again. That's actually not true. Some stuff happened in this episode that I've been waiting to happen. Mostly that John Oliver confrontation. Finally.
Yeah.
And it was rough. Whew.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Like, I was expecting it to get physical there for a little while.
Yeah. That would not have been fair, though, because poor Diggle was like has permanent spinal damage, so that would not have been a fair fight. And Oliver's not that kind of dude.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Did you love that Oliver has not taken long to become dad? I'm not mad, John. I'm disappointed. Oh man, you've been a dad for like 3 weeks. But yeah, everything that I have wanted to yell at Diggle this season, Oliver said.
Mhm.
You know, you kept this for me because you knew I wouldn't want you out there endangering the team. And then Diggle had a good point too. It's not really your team anymore. It's my team. I endangered my team. It's not really your call.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
rough.
so much better. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that makes it okay.
It's your team now. So I should feel okay that you're being selfish. But I don't know. Yeah. And what was the, I guess whoever had 4 episodes in the pool, as to how long Oliver would stay out of the green suit. You win.
Although to be fair, it's not. Yeah, you win the. Do we ever settle a prize like $5 Starbucks gift card, maybe?
Yeah, $5. You need like another 3 to get a cup of coffee, right?
I know. I was going to say that'll get you in the door, but it's not going to get you any actual coffee. Sorry. But it's just temporary. I mean, Oliver basically said you are the Green Arrow now, so he's still not back. Boy, what do you? This show would not actually make John the Green Arrow forever, right?
No.
Okay.
No. This is all leading up to Will just having be okay, with the fact that his dad's the Green Arrow,
and that's going to happen at some point. Will's going to be like, "Dad, I think it's time for you to put on the hood.
Mhm.
You know, be the other guy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's when Kane Wilson comes around, because he's coming in January or February, like somewhere around the bend. Yeah, definitely. So that's what's going on there, and so Curtis and Felicity are not off to a great start.
Yeah, we had a couple of team fights. And I think, again, both of them had legitimate beefs as well, which is my favorite kind of fighting, when you have team fighting, when you can see both sides. But Curtis used their tech to try to help John and just made him worse. And he didn't tell Felicity about it, and Felicity was angry. And Curtis comes back with, "But you named the company without checking with me," which I got to say, not cool. Felicity could be like, "This is a great idea. Curtis, what do you think about Helix?" And then Curtis could be like, "I don't love it." But apparently not. I want to assume she just filed the incorporation paperwork and didn't even ask him. And I mean, that's not cool.
Yeah. Also, using your seed money to bail out your boyfriend.
Oh, I
mean,
God.
Not even Curtis, as your angel investor. Don't you kind of have a problem with that? Like, is that legal?
Yeah. I wondered that too. Is the money just hers free and clear to do with as she wishes? Because if not, and yeah, you don't want Oliver sitting in jail waiting for his trial. I get that. That's not good storytelling, but oh my God, that hurt me.
Yeah. Also, this kind of arrest for a criminal trial, I don't know. You're the one with the experience in local politics. Does this, is it probably a good idea to resign?
I would say 5 years ago, I would say yes, but now I'm not sure what disqualifies you from public office. I don't think anything disqualifies you from public office in America anymore. Not in 2017. So this might actually win him more supporters. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. It does seem like I have cost you so much in scandal and consternation. I will step down and leave my deputy mayor, Quentin Lance, in charge, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem kind of.
Yeah.
I also think that high profile arrest is a strange choice to do it at the, it just feels, I haven't liked Watson all the way through. She's just one dimensional. She's no nonsense. She's just a dick to everybody. And I haven't really enjoyed that. I wish, I've said this on this podcast before, but I wish she had a little more nuance to her, or some other mode than just hard ass. So if she's really going back to DC, God bless, stay away. I hate to say that because I was optimistic that it would be a cool person for Oliver to tangle with, but that has not been the case. So hopefully it's in the hands of that reluctant local state's attorney to prosecute. Well, I cannot wait to see how this show botches every aspect of the criminal justice system and the legal system of Star City.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Although, I don't know if you saw his lawyer is Jean Loring.
She looked familiar, but I didn't bother looking her up.
Yeah, no. I mean the character, the character she's playing is Jean Loring.
Okay.
Who, for those of you who don't know, in the comics is Ray Palmer's wife.
Oh, Ray, that's kind of a May-December thing.
Yeah, and well, she's close at his age in the comics, but she went kind of crazy, and spoiler in that Identity Crisis, that series I was talking about, where Sue Dibney is raped and then later murdered. Turns out, spoiler, she ended up doing the second half of those things. Yeah. She goes crazy. She gets taken over by Eclipso. This whole thing happens. And it just basically ruins her marriage with Ray, and he feels super guilty about it and decides to go into the microverse. I'm going down a rabbit holes. Please stop me. Stop me now.
Wow. So I'm actually speechless.
Yeah. So I don't think they're going to go in that direction.
Again, if they did, that would be real dark. That would be a real dark crossover. But it would involve The Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. So that actually, all right. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to pull you back from the brink and say Billy Joel?
Yeah.
Billy Joel concert. That was so specific and so random.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to see him do like more than 3 bars. Like, if you're gonna have Billy Joel in your episode, let me see Billy Joel. All right.
So I want to know, what kind of rights did they negotiate, or how did that? How and why? How and why? Arrow. I need to know.
I think the why is because one of the EPs has to be a fan. And he might have been doing a concert in Vancouver at the time. Someone had tickets and just said, "Hey, wait a minute,
I'm gonna film this on my phone and we're gonna slap it in,"
because it's just concert footage. Like, we don't even get the whole thing of him walking backstage and bumping into Wild Dog.
If you're gonna name check an actual known international working class hero superstar, can't you get him to do a cameo? It's really disappointing.
Yeah, and I am a huge Billy Joel fan.
Listen, his version of Run Run Rudolph, no, Santa Claus is Coming to Town is the definitive Santa Claus is Coming to Town, as far as I'm concerned.
You might be thinking of Springsteen's version.
I am. Oh God, I'll log off now. Good night, everybody. I feel like Billy Joel doesn't have Christmas songs that I am aware of.
No, but he doesn't need them.
No, he doesn't.
No, you got Angry Young Man. That's all you need. Just the live version of that.
Okay.
The live version, not the studio version.
Noted. Okay, so now I have a question for you.
All right.
And I recapped all of last season of Arrow for EW, and I cannot remember. What did Vigilante do that was so bad? All I remember is Prometheus. Vigilante was around for a couple of episodes, and then it was just all Prometheus. And I have no memory of what Vigilante did that made Dinah be so like, he's a monster. What did he do?
Well, he was Vigilante is like DC's answer to the Punisher. He was just he was killing bad people who were doing bad things.
Well, that's not really a monster. It's kind of what Oliver Queen does as the Green Arrow, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, but he's not the lead of the show, so that's why it's a problem.
So that's why it's bad. Gotcha. Moral relativism. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it was the kind of thing where his bar was a little lower. You know, and
for what made you bad and deserve?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will say I did like the Dinah Quentin scene where they confess to each other that they both kind of have a soft spot or a blind spot for Black Siren / Vigilante because they both loved some version of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that they had that conversation.
Yeah. That worked. I wish we got a little bit more of that. Yeah, Caden James.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's as brilliant as just Team Arrow was just stupid in this episode.
They were kind of let's beat up these cops. Oh wait,
it's a setup, and there's a referendum tonight.
Oh, you beautiful dummies.
Yeah. Maybe check on the bomb first. Yeah. That was not good.
But I do like Caden James's unflappability. I like that he never really seems to be surprised. He always seems to have, he's 8 steps ahead in chess or whatever every supervillain taunts to the heroes. But he does seem to be that so far. So I'm curious to see what his end goal is going to be. Yet again, we have another Oliver killed my son, and so I'm out for revenge, which I believe was the motive for last season too. No, it was Oliver killed my dad last season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oliver killed my dad.
Oliver killed somebody in my family.
I love how Caden James, you killed my son, and Oliver's like, you're gonna have to be more specific.
It's the most honest reaction in the Arrowverse this week.
I was like, which one? Like, yeah, he does kill people pretty often. And I'm trying to figure out, is this something from back in his days on Lian Yu, or is this something like since he became, because it seems like Caden James knows his secret identity. And I'm wondering if it goes back further than that. Because I mean, if it doesn't, then this just seems like a rehash of last season, as you already pointed out. That's
my fear too. Number one, I'm assuming we're going to get some kind of flashbacks to see that, and number two, I think it's interesting that both Arrow and the Flash have our brawn heroes facing brain villains. It looks like, and it makes you wonder if the shows talk to each other. Hey, we're doing a smart villain. Are you going to do it? Oh, should we both do a smart villain? But Arrow's got a couple of other irons in the fire villain wise. So you've got the Dragon and you've got Black Siren, and we'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah. This is kind of stream of consciousness, but I was just thinking about it at the end of this episode when Oliver because we have the whole thing where like Diggle has like permanent damage. And and then Oliver says, "Hey, I'm just subbing in for you." The fuck is he talking about?
Well, now remember, Felicity is paralyzed, but they've got the spinal implant. And so I think probably he's assuming Felicity and Curtis can come up with something to fix whatever made up ailment is. Oh, you're paralyzed, buddy? Okay, I'll sit in until you're ready to, wheel around.
Felicity can walk. She doesn't need to fight bad guys, and do, she's not punching people constantly or, doing heavy combat training. I think that their needs and desires are kind of different spectrums.
She really does spend a lot of time in a wheeled office chair. No judgment. So do I.
Yeah. So. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, John's the aberration here.
I did think that was a weird, why throw that in? Yeah. If you wanted Oliver back in the field, it could just be, I don't trust that this pain isn't going to flare up again in the field. So cover for me while we figure this out. Why did you have to take it to permanent spinal damage? I mean, that just seems... unless he's going to be the miracle test subject to get Helix off the ground. I don't know. You never know with shows like this if it's the kind of thing that's going to be abandoned completely or if it's going to be a plot line for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. Yeah, but no, you're right. That what? And that's why you don't put trial stuff into your body if it hasn't been evaluated by whatever passes for the FDA. In Star City.
Yes.
governance system.
Useful information. All right. Any news for Arrow?
Well, no, other than as I have been saying, we do have just the crossover is next week. And so should we launch into that?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, we don't have Arrow specific news, but they're shuffling the order a little bit. It's going to be Supergirl and I believe it's Arrow on Monday.
Yes.
And then Flash and Legends on Tuesday. So it's a 4-episode, 2-day crossover that's centered around Barry and Iris's wedding. If you have spent more than 5 minutes on the internet in the last couple of weeks, you've seen something about it. There are so many production spills, honestly, and interviews and promos and trailers out there. I feel like I know everything that's going to happen in this crossover because I've been reading and seeing so much about it. So in terms of the news that's out there for the crossover, there's so much. You've got Melissa Benoist talking about what Supergirl is going to do in the crossover, and you've got Grant Gustin talking about what the Flash is going to do. So if you're interested, Google around, and there's a lot of, Supergirl's going to do this. And, but they are, there is a trailer on Gizmodo that has everybody just super excited to punch the evil Nazi versions of themselves from Earth X when they invade during Barry and Iris's wedding. This is the crossover. Nazi punching.
There we go. Boom.
I thought only Captain America was allowed to punch Nazis, but I see that's not the case.
Oh, no. Especially the Justice Society and the Freedom Fighters who come from Earth X. I think we're only going to get the Ray in this crossover, but
I'm excited for that, though. Yeah. I'm excited to see the Ray. He was introduced on an animated series? Is this right?
No, I don't. That hasn't come out yet. He's going to star in his own animated series on CWC.
Okay, because I know it's Russell Tovey, and I know that he had played or was going to play the role regularly, and this is going to be his first primetime CW.
Yeah, it's kind of this. Yeah, the same way they introduced Vixen, where she had the animated series. Here, I think they're reversing it. He's gonna be on. Be part of the crossover, and then he's going to do his animated show.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
So yeah, I mean, the big crossover's coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will, of course, be covering all of it next week.
Yeah,
for you.
Yeah, and it's it's basically like, remember when you'd have a 2-night miniseries event?
Good times. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, there was a Shining miniseries that I was too young and too scared to watch.
I want to say Stephen King preferred the miniseries to the movie. The miniseries had Steven Weber in it as Jack Torrance. Jack Palance. That's a very different kind of The Shining. And Stephen King liked that one better than the Kubrick version. So
yeah. Well, this is because he hates the Kubrick version. not necessarily, just he changed it in ways, and I think a lot of the points in the movie, Kubrick was like specifically giving FUs to King. Certain directions that he was taking, but also, I remember this was like a thing in the 90s where you'd have a miniseries, 2 nights, 2 hours each. I
was an extra in a miniseries when I was a kid. It was in the 80s. It was called America, but it was spelled with a K, and it was about the Russian takeover of America, clearly Cold War era. But they filmed it in Nebraska, and they needed a bunch of extras to live in exile camps, and so we had to show up, and they would like put dirt on our faces so we would look really dirty. It was awesome. My mom and I got paid like $200 a day, and they fed you lunch. Amazing. Wow. So I was actually on the screen for like a 10-second shot playing with a stuffed animal in the exile camp. That is my claim to fame. You had no idea you were on here with an actress.
Wow.
So yes, I have fond memories of miniseries. Chris Christopherson starred. There's a picture of my mom and Chris Christopherson. It was a highlight for all of us.
Awesome.
I'm so sorry about that digression. But yes, miniseries, good times.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, you're right. This feels a lot like that it's a continuing story over 2 nights. You have to tune into one. And I know there are a lot of people who only watch Supergirl or only watch Arrow, and they're wondering, am I going to be okay? The show is going to go all the shows are going to go out of their way, I'm sure, to introduce you to the characters you need to know. They're not going to just throw you into the deep end if you're somebody who only watches one of them. So tune in and be optimistic.
Yeah, and I've seen from all the press they're saying, it seems like they want to make this one continuous story. Much more so than last season. Yeah,
last season Supergirl had a standalone, and then in the last 30 seconds got sucked in to the crossover, as I recall. This season it's going to be very much just flows over the course of 2 nights and 4 hours.
Cool.
I'm optimistic. They really have been putting a lot of press behind it, and I've heard good buzz about it. We shall see. I will be recapping the Supergirl hour, which is the first hour for EW.com, so you'll have to tune in and see what I think there. Or you can wait if you're like my brother. No, don't tell me. I'll listen to the podcast. We'll catch you up next week.
All right. And what else we got? What other news we got?
Very little. Like I said, the Thanksgiving drought is upon us, but a couple things about Gotham, which will be back next week. Comicbook.com reports that we're going to see Grundy become a little bit more Butch-like. We saw him kind of remember who he was, and they compared it to like Frankenstein's monster becoming aware that he's a monster and how that changes Frankenstein's monster. And Grundy the same way, he's become aware that he used to be more than Grundy, and so we're going to see more Butch. And so how is that going to affect Tabs, and how's that going to affect Nigma and his fighting career? I didn't really cover that, but I bet we're going to see it in an episode where at the end of it I'm going to be like, we didn't even see Bruce. Oh well. So that's my take on that. Yeah, so that's Gotham. iZombie, there's no news, but I do feel compelled to report that Rose McIver, who plays Liv Moore, stars in the original Netflix movie A Christmas Prince, which I watched about an hour ago and is terrible, but you should immediately watch it. Immediately.
I think we need a more in-depth review from you about that.
She's a journalist, and she's sent to cover a prince in a made-up European country who is reluctant to assume the throne because he's a wild playboy, and so she's inexperienced as a reporter, and she shows up, and there's hijinks, and there's misunderstanding, and I mean, spoiler alert, they fall in love, but it's completely predictable, and there's a makeover scene, and I love it. I mean, it's everything you want about these like Lifetime style Christmas movies. It's perfect.
Isn't this a Julia Stiles movie?
Oh yeah, it's just Julia Stiles but Christmas. Okay. And Julia Stiles wasn't a reporter; she was a medical student. We could really go down the rabbit hole here.
I love how I mentioned one movie that both my sister and my grandma and my grandfather were into. That I barely remember, and you immediately pick up on what I'm talking about.
It's the Prince and Me. Of course I know. They made a terrible sequel. Julia Stiles wasn't in it. They had to replace her with some other blonde, but the Prince remained. So, yeah, I can do this all day.
love to see those career trajectories.
Anyway, A Christmas Prince on Netflix now. They actually, I made my poor husband watch it, and he just kind of grunted every time. I'd be like, "Oh, that's going to turn out to be that," and then it did. And he'd just be like, "Please, just let me play my game on my iPad and let me ignore this." But at one point I was like, "Oh, this they did a nice job making this look like a European village." And eventually I looked it up. It was filmed in Romania on location, so it actually was a European village. So it's actually nicer set than I'm used to on these type of things. Rose McIver, cool. A Christmas Prince, Netflix. Check it out. You turn it into a drinking game. Every time you're embarrassed for the actors, you take a sip. You'll be pleasantly toasted by the end.
All right.
Okay. Last bit of news. This one's about a show we don't talk about very often because there is not much news about it very often, but Watchmen. Andy Weir did an interview with Damon Lindelof, who's working on Watchmen, the pilot for HBO. And he said he is pleased to be doing the show at this time, even though the comic's set in the 80s. He thinks 2017 is a good year to be doing it because these are dangerous times and we need dangerous TV shows. And specifically, he said he loves the Marvel DC stuff, but he doesn't like the way they view superheroes. His take is we should not trust people who put on masks and say they're working for our own good. And so that's part of what he wants to show with Watchmen. And if you think about it, I mean, it's who watches the Watchmen is literally the Watchmen credo. And I think that's kind of what he's saying, that we don't, we shouldn't blindly trust
Yep.
superheroes, leaders, whatever the case may be. So I don't know, given that tone, are you interested in where he's going to go with that? Does that give you hope for the adaptation?
Yeah. I think that's you're going to have to do something different with this anyway, because the Zack Snyder movie is such a literal translation. That you can't just redo that, and I think it's definitely the right mindset to have for this kind of production.
Well, and I know I've talked up The Leftovers before, but The Leftovers, which Damon Lindelof did for HBO, that just ended this year, was based on a Tom Perrotta book that he took quite a lot of liberties with, but I think he kept it tonally in place and created just an amazing 3 seasons of television. So if he can do the same thing where you take the characters and the feel and the tone and the overall kind of arcs and themes, and then craft television at the level that he crafted The Leftovers, I'm very excited. But it doesn't have a pickup yet with HBO, so this is all still just talking, but fingers crossed.
Yeah,
it'll be good and it'll get picked up.
Yeah. I think this has a good shot. And that seems right in line with Watchmen. Again, how are they going to handle the pirates?
I don't know. They better be casting for the pirate right now. I'm sorry, your teeth are not rotten enough. Next.
And there's one other bit of news that's not live action DC TV, but I think it's worth mentioning. So the DC digital streaming service, which has yet to be named, which we know is going to have Young Justice Season 3 and the live action Titan series, has added another animated series to its lineup.
And it's going to be a Harley Quinn animated series.
Yes. Yes, and it's being put together by the trio who put together Powerless,
which I enjoyed and thought was canceled too soon. That seems to be my theme of the night. That was canceled too soon. Yeah,
that was sad. I mean, it's the kind of thing that just never really grabbed the audience. I would like to see that original pilot that they shot, that evidently they redid completely.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, Harley Quinn, that's a great. It's going to be more serious and kind of adult. Sort of what FX is doing with Deadpool.
Yeah. And the interview I read said that they would probably approach Margot Robbie about doing the voice. Although Margot Robbie, I did it again. Someday I'm going to learn how to pronounce her name. But that to me seems like an extreme long shot. She's a busy lady making movies. So yeah.
Especially because she's going to be in a dogfight with Frances McDormand for that Oscar this year. That is, I'm telling you, this is one of those other things I like to keep up on the Oscar races. Last year, I finally fulfilled my dream of seeing every nominated movie before the ceremony.
Like all of them, even the small guys.
Yeah, all the short films, all the documentaries, all the foreign films. I've tried. It took me 4 tries, but I finally made it through.
Most impressive.
Yeah, and I've started early this year trying to on awardcircuit.com trying to track the ones, and I saw 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Yesterday, in fact. That's how I spent my Thanksgiving morning out in Montclair, New Jersey. And Frances McDormand was incredible, but Margot Robbie is playing Tanya Harding in I, Tanya, which is coming out soon.
I've heard wonderful things about both of those movies.
Yeah. Best Actress race has been kind of quiet the last few years. But this year I think we're in for a showdown. It's going to be interesting. Why am I doing Oscar talk? Oh, that's right, Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn leads directly to Oscars. Clearly,
yes. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. I mean, we're not going to cover that show because we don't do animated stuff, but I'm sure we'll be watching it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else I'm forgetting? Oh, we have winners for the week.
Winners of the week, yeah. So my winner of the week is brought to you by all the tryptophan I consumed with the turkey, and so my brain has been sluggish. And I don't know, for some reason, all of the Grodd-based puns from Legends of Tomorrow stuck with me, and I feel like Grodd-based puns, kneel before Grodd, they were my winner of the week. Thank you, Legends of Tomorrow, for bringing us One Nation Under Grodd.
Yeah, my pick is also from Legends, and it was the Rorys.
Yes. Legends for sure our winner of the week.
yeah, I thought that dynamic was great. Dick and Mick. And I think that story arc was really cool, and I hope that they touch on that somehow in the future, that this isn't just a standalone story.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, that was really quick, but I think we're good. There's a lot going on here. Let's just wrap it up so you can get it back. We got the crossover next week. It's gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be so.
Yeah, we've got the crossover, and we have Gotham, right? Our lonely non-crossover episode. So we've got 5 again for next week.
All right. So that's the DC TV report for this week. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Edward O'Hare TBD.
And I'm at Sara Netzley, SARANETZLEY.
Yes, and follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice. Please rate and review us. It does help. Anything you can. Check out our sister shows, the Wicked Theory podcast and Preacher vs. Preacher. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer, Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam!
Shazam!